Hello, hello. We know that there will be others trickling in. We want to thank you for being here today. My name is Amber Booth McCoy. You can call me Nicole. I am our educational equity consultant, or you can just think of me as your favorite work instructor. And our welcome will be given by our amazing head of school, Ms. Erica. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of our She's Speaking series in celebration of Women's History Month. This month gives us the opportunity to honor the incredible contributions of women throughout history, acknowledge the progress made, and recognize the work that still lies ahead. We're excited to continue these conversations with another inspiring speaker who will share her experiences, wisdom, and perspective. Her voice serves as a reminder of the impact of resilience, leadership, and community in creating a more just and equitable world. Thank you for being part of this series, for engaging in these important discussions, and for celebrating the legacy of women past, present, and future. Enjoy today's program. And I also have to say, as a personal aside, I've had the pleasure of being the administrator here when Olivia was a student, and she was fabulous, and I'm not surprised at all that she's a gold medalist. So, yay, Olivia! Everybody give a hand for them.
Good morning, everyone. It is my absolute honor to welcome you all to Mount St. Mary Academy's She's Speaking Women's History Month celebration. This event is not just a speaker series. It's a moment to recognize, honor, and uplift the bold, brilliant, and trailblazing women who have shaped history and continue to inspire us today. Excuse me, I figured out I was doing this earlier today. Women's History Month is a time to reflect on the extraordinary contributions of women throughout history. Women who defied the odds, broke barriers, and paved the way for future generations. What began as a single week of recognition in 1980 has grown now into a month-long celebration, acknowledging the resilience, leadership, and impact of women across all fields and industries. Here at Mount St. Mary Academy, we are proud to be a part of the legacy. As an institution dedicated to empowering young women, we recognize the power of sisterhood, leadership, and advocacy. That's why this year's theme, Moving Forward Together, Women Educating and Inspiring Generations, is so important. It reflects the ongoing journey of empowerment and the collective strength of women supporting one another. This year's She's Speaking series is particularly special because each of our guest speakers is a proud Mount St. Mary alumni. These great women have gone on to become leaders in law, sports, public service, and beyond. Today, they return to share their journeys, their wisdom, and their experiences with us. Their stories remind us that our voices matter, our contributions are invaluable, and that the future is brighter when we support and uplift one another. So, as we kick off the celebration, I invite you to engage, listen, and be inspired. Let's honor the past, celebrate the present, and shape the future. Yeah. This is our future. Olivia Chambers' journey is one of perseverance, determination, and breaking barriers, both in and out of the pool. A proud graduate of Mount St. Mary Academy, she began swimming at the age of 4 and broke her first state record by the time she was 7. Like most high school students, her future seemed limitless, but at 16, she began losing her eyesight. Eventually diagnosed with multiple mitochondrial gene deletion syndrome, Olivia faced a choice: let adversity define her, or push forward to redefine what was possible. She chose the latter. Now a Paralympic gold medalist, Olivia claimed the top spot in the S13 400-meter freestyle at the 2024 Paralympic Games, along with 2 silver medals in the SM13 200-meter individual medley and SB13 100-meter breaststroke. As a member of the U.S. national team, she earned 6 medals at the 2023 Paraswimming World Championships and has won 7 Paraswimming World Series medals, including her first gold in the 200-meter IM. A 3-time national champion, she was named Swimmer of the Meet at her first national championship event. Even while competing on the world's biggest stages, Olivia continues to thrive in collegiate swimming at the University of Northern Iowa, where she's a senior in the Honors College, double majoring in biology and psychology. Most recently, she finished 3rd in the 400-yard individual medley at the Division I Missouri Valley Conference Championship, earning all conference honors. She currently holds 7 American records and 3 world records in parasailing, proving that limits exist only to be redefined.
Is it my turn? Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was a little bit
That was a little
I started swimming at the age of 4
4
and
and
fell in love with the sport.
sport.
Felt comfortable in the water. That became especially true when I was my eyesight. I obviously came out and I entered year just as a normal freshman. Um, Is it very like echoey? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're cutting out. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
I think maybe it's too close to that. Hold on just a second. We're moving some things. All right. Is that better?
let's see.
Let's see.
Sounds better. Sounds better to
Okay.
us, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right now,
What?
But
can you hear us?
I can hear y'all. Yeah.
I can hear y'all now.
I think it's better.
I'll just start over.
I'll just start on.
Yes.
So yeah, I started swimming
Yeah,
at
I
the age
started swimming at the age.
and just really fell in love with
Just really
swimming.
fell in love.
And
And
entering freshman in high
entering
school,
freshman
just
in
your
high school,
normal
your normal
average year-old
average.
girl, excited for the next steps in her life, and really fell in love here at Mount, made new friends. And then when I was 16 years old, just honestly starting my junior year, it was August 25th, so right at the beginning. I was learning how to drive, or I was driving, and along with all of my friends and just doing normal teenage things, still swimming and everything. I began to experience some vision problems, and most eye doctors, they were telling me that it was normal and that my vision would come back. And as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months and, months turned into years, obviously that was not true. And randomly one day, one of my doctors is just like, yep, this is not coming back. So that was really hard to hear. And, living my life as someone who was visually impaired, but believing that they were going to get their vision back, to all of a sudden hearing that I was never going to get it back was very difficult to hear. But honestly, all the people back at home and at Mount especially really honestly shaped me into the person I am today. Everyone talks about like resilience and strength, and I believe that came from honestly my high school days, because I would not have been able to be where I am without everyone rallying around me. Everyone talks about the swimming side of my visual impairment, but the school side was honestly a lot harder. There were a lot more challenges I had to overcome. In the water, it was, okay, I have to figure out how to swim as a visually impaired person. And for me, swimming was something I was never, ever going to give up, and never let just losing my eyesight be something that stopped me. And so I figured out ways around it, and it was not easy, but it wasn't as hard as school. Like I figured out, okay, it's this many strokes into the wall, and then I flip, and then, or, this is what this looks like through my eyesight. When the lighting is this way, I'm going to have to adjust, this way. But in school, especially in, subjects maybe I wasn't as interested in, it took a lot of motivation to just figure out how I was going to keep doing school. Because obviously I had to graduate, and I had dreams and aspirations on the career side of things. And one of those was to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. And while that's no longer really in my future, because surgery, you need your eyes. I can admit it. I want an eye doc. I want a neurosurgeon to have working eyes. But, just realizing that those goals might have to shift and change was really difficult. But I would say all the teachers at Mount, like, really, they treated me as a normal person, which I really appreciate, but still giving me the accommodations I need. And whether they recognize it or not, they allowed me to, process my visual impairment. And they taught me how to overcome it and to learn how to advocate for myself, which is a really important piece I've learned, coming into college, and not everyone knows your backstory and not everyone knows like that I am visually impaired. So really just, working out how to do school as a visually impaired person at Mount helped me become the student I am today. And I'm really grateful for that. Honestly, college is much easier than high school, in my opinion. Mount really prepared me for that, and I'm really grateful for that. And they, just taught me how to do school as a visually impaired person, and that I can overcome anything with the right accommodations. And I just think that was really important to touch on. So back to more of like the swimming side of things. I, obviously began learning how to swim as a visually impaired person, and a lot of people see my success now and think that it just came really easy for me. Well, that's not true at all. When I was 16, I did get a lot slower. It was really hard for me to accept that fact. And, when I was 16, the world shut down for COVID. That was my junior year. And it was a really isolating time. I didn't know anyone else who was visually impaired. We weren't even allowed to see our friends. I wasn't allowed to go to school. I was learning how to use technology, learning how to, just see and how to do all my work. And all of this was, coming down on me at one time. But I think with the use of my family, especially my friends, leaning on them and knowing that they have your back is something that truly helped me, because you are not alone. I know a lot of times it may seem like that, and especially then for me with COVID, going into my senior year, going blind, not being able to swim and just do things I love, it really was important to lean on others. And I just want y'all to know that. And it will eventually get better. And so obviously we had my kind of weird senior year, and by the end it did get a lot more fun. We had more normal experiences, and I was able to commit to the University of Northern Iowa, where I am now. And that's when things in swimming started to look up again for me. There were times where I sat down and had real conversations with my coaches and parents and everyone about, I might not get back to the place where I was when I was sighted. And I really had to admit that and come to terms with that. And by the end of my freshman year of college, my coaches and my mom sat me down and they were like, para swimming is something that I really think you can excel at. And I had finally come to the point in my visual impairment where I had accepted it and known that this was going to be my life. And at that moment, I decided I can either let this hinder me and stop me from doing what I want, or I can change my goals and dreams and, really go after something. And I'm really glad I did. That was a major turning point in my life, honestly. And I became classified as a S13. So there are like multiple different classifications. It's kind of complicated. I'll just kind of give you a brief thing. 3 different classifications for visually impaired people, 13 being the most sighted and 11 being like completely blind. So I'm a 13. And honestly, that opened a whole new world for me. I met so many people who had been through similar experiences as me, and just kind of understood where I came from and understood what it was like to be a visually impaired person. And that helped me a lot, just finding a group of people who were like me and understood, really just made me feel like I belonged, and helped me just move through the world and honestly do things I'd never even imagined. And I had my first international trip to Tijuana, Mexico. I had met the leader, like our coaches, for maybe 5 minutes, didn't really know any of the other athletes. And this is kind of funny. They had emailed us and told us that we were going to walk across the border. So if you can only imagine a group of about 10 disabled people walking across the border of Mexico, it was a sight and it was an experience. And about that moment, I was like, oh no, what did I get myself into? But you're going to have those moments in anything new you try. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. I really love to swim. I really like this will allow me to swim after college. And, Paris is coming up in 2 years. And, at the age of 4, I was like, I'm going to be an Olympian. I am going to get to the highest level. I'm going to be the best. And then, you know, as you get older, reality sets in a little bit and you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to be like a college swimmer. And, you know, the dreams of being an Olympian kind of disappear because, you know, an Olympian, that's kind of ambitious. But then, you know, as I started para swimming, I was like, those dreams started to resurface and come back. And I was like, okay, maybe this is a reality for me. And I made the world's team in 2023 and somehow medaled in all of my events. That was kind of crazy. I just kind of got out there and had fun, if I'm being honest. That's just kind of my mindset when it comes to swimming is this is what I love to do. I remember that little 4-year-old who, you know, just couldn't wait to get in the water every day and practice. So just getting up behind the blocks and remembering what I'm doing it for and, you know, honestly, just for fun. And after 2023 at Worlds, I was like, all right, yep, I'm making this Paralympic team. I knew trials were coming up in June and kind of buckled down. And it's a really complicated qualification process, if I'm being honest. But you don't know right away. So at the Olympic trials, you know, if you come in first or second in your event, you know you've made the team. But for para, you don't know until honestly they announce it. And so that was going to be the next day after trials ended. And so I had a good idea, I'd made it, but you know, it was that like gruesome 24 hours of like, okay, did I do what I needed to do? All the work, sweat, tears, everything in between, did that get me to where I needed to be? And I just remember sitting in the room. We had a meeting with all of the athletes afterwards. And, you know, that feeling was amazing when they said my name and off to Paris I was. At this point, everyone asked me, did I have any goals to get gold in Paris? And I mean, everyone wants to win. That's why we do it, which is true. But honestly, for me, I just was like, I made the team. I'm just going to go and have fun and take everything in as possible. Because I was in Germany for a week and then I was in Paris for 3 weeks. So I was gone for a whole month and I was like, this is going to be the best experience of my life. And I was not wrong on that. We first got to Germany. We had our training camp and it was super cool. We were there as Team USA, just got to bond with all my other teammates. And then once we hit Paris, we pretty much hit the ground running. It was nonstop from there. But the first day we had, it's called TUI, Team USA Welcoming Experience. And we got fitted with all of our Ralph Lauren outfits, all the Nike. And like you walked in, the mirror had your name on it. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. I don't like, there's no way I deserve all this. And it was actually crazy. The village, you know, was just like hundreds of other Paralympic athletes all enclosed in this one space, going to the same dining hall, got to meet so many different people from so many countries. But honestly, the real feeling and excitement didn't hit me until I walked out for my prelims 100 fly, my first race, and the roaring crowd of 15,000 people was just like mind-boggling. There, I was like, I've honestly never felt so small in my life. I like walked out and like, I thank God I couldn't see the 15,000 people because just the noise alone was absolutely insane. And just to know that there are that many people there to watch para swimming and to watch just swimming was incredible because swimming doesn't get much viewership, but then the added factor of para swimming really doesn't. And so to know that the Paralympic movement is growing and more people are becoming interested and more people care and want to watch is just, it feels really good. And it feels amazing to know that I have not just those 15,000 people in the stands, but also like everyone back home who, you know, set up watch groups, texted me, watched my race. Just that means a whole lot. I just honestly walk around and people are like, oh, I watched you swim in Paris. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. Thank you so much. Like it means so much just to simply watch me and just to know that I have so many people back there supporting me because there are many days when I practice alone. You know, my college teammates, yes, they're swimmers, but nowhere near to the level of commitment that I have dedicated myself. And so, you know, just thinking back to all those days that I wake up at 5, get in the water when it's cold, you know, we have 20 inches of snow or whatever outside and, you know, do the hard workout alone. It's just, I remember why I do it. And I go back to that moment when I just walk out and, you know, hear all the crowd and the cheering. And it was really just an incredible experience. And I couldn't be more thankful for literally everyone who has gotten me here, all the way back to like high school days and beyond, and my family, friends, and teachers, coaches who have all gotten me to this moment. So yeah, I kind of just rambled, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm an open book, so you can really just ask me anything.
Thank you so much. So we are going to open the floor. So if you have any questions, you can take them off now. Yep, go ahead. Make sure you loud.
So you said you're double majoring in
Any other
psychology.
questions?
You're double majoring in psychology and biology. Do you plan on doing anything in the future with that?
I do. I want to do something medical. While it might not be neurosurgery, I do want to do something medical. I am planning on going to and training and swimming for LA 2028 and possibly beyond. So I'm still swimming. So that's a time commitment, but I want to do something in the medical field. I've, researched plenty of opportunities. I'm thinking maybe like neuroscience or something along, but I'm not 100% certain yet.
When you think about being in the village and the different individuals you got to meet from the various countries, what are some of the things that you remember most or enjoyed about learning about those same individuals?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things ever is, before your race, you go to what's called a call room, and it's probably it depends on the meet and if they're running behind, honestly, but you're in there for about 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes longer, and, you're just sitting there. Next to you are your competitors. Before the 4 free, you're sat in like place order. So I was in the first chair, the second person in the second chair, and you're sitting right next to the person who's fighting for that gold medal with you. But honestly, most of them, we just hang out and have fun in there. We chat it up. We'll dance. There are 4 other S14 athletes for USA. So a lot of times there's one of my fellow USA teammates in there, but I've gotten to know people from Australia, Spain, Italy, France, all over. And so just being in the call room with them and talking to them and learning their experiences is so fun.
What's your
What's your favorite? The bell
My favorite.
What's your favorite stroke to compete?
Oh, okay. Probably distance freestyle. I really like IM too, but for like fly back and breast, it kind of switches a lot. My least favorite is probably back. But for fly and breast, I kind of flip flop between, but my favorite is probably distance free and then IM.
Was there ever a language barrier in Paris? What does being with other cultures that speak different languages look like for the Olympic team?
Most people can speak English, and honestly, if I'm being honest, you look very American. No matter where you go, they know you can only speak English. I did have some French background. They never even gave me the chance. But yeah, always with international meets, there are going to be language barriers with just honestly, hundreds of different languages being spoken. Like in warm up, if someone's at the wall and you want to tell them to go, a lot of times that gets a little confusing, or like if you're going to dive or whatever, that there are language barriers there. But a lot of people have some English. And so you communicate that way. But yeah, there are sometimes language barriers. I haven't come into anything I haven't been able to figure out, because you also have the barrier of, different disabilities. And so you have your blind people who can't see your hand motions, or, honestly, people without arms who can't give hand motions, or, there's a classification, it's called S14, that is intellectual disabilities. And you don't always know what someone's disability is when you're talking to them. And so they could have an intellectual disability and you need to communicate with them in some other way. So beyond just language barriers, there are other barriers that you have to, kind of overcome to talk to people. But a lot of people are like understanding and accommodating, and we get the message across somehow.
How nerve-wracking was Paris?
You know, it wasn't too bad. I wasn't too nervous, honestly. A lot of people find that shocking. I will say I wasn't nervous going in, but when I did walk out and hear 15,000 people, I was like, whoa, that got me a little nervous. I was like, that's kind of crazy. But after the first time, maybe the first prelims and the first finals, after my 100 fly, the first day was over, I was like, I'm good now. This is like, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. This is, you know, all I ever dreamed of in swimming. So I'm here now. Like, I have done what I needed to do. And honestly, sitting back there in the for free, I know my competitors. I know how they swim. I've, studied what they do. And so I have a pretty good understanding of how their races are going to go. And before the for free, I'd seen a couple other races they had done. And so I kind of knew where they were at too. And honestly, sitting in the call room before the for free, I was like, I know that there are 3 competitors for this gold medal spot. And I was like, I'm coming out with a medal no matter what. And I was like, that's all I ever wanted. I was like, I'm just going to get out there and do what I do. And I will say, being visually impaired does come with its advantages. Not many people think that, but I can't see the people next to me. And sometimes that's an advantage. Sometimes it's a disadvantage. Some people, when they see the person catching them, they just crash out and like fall way behind. Some people use that as motivation, but me not being able to see them is kind of a constant reminder in my mind, like they could be way ahead of you. I'm like, you need to go get her. You need to go get her. So I was constantly thinking that, like in my for free, I was like, the girl who had biggest potential to beat me, I know the way she swims. I'm like, okay, she pretty much takes it out pretty smooth and then really brings it back that last 200. And so once I hit that 200 mark, I knew. I was like, you're going to have to go. I was like, she's going to catch you. And so just kind of knowing how I swim, how others swim, and not being able to see them or not being able to see the crowd just kind of kept my nerves at bay. And honestly, when you think about it, nerves and excitement are the same thing when it comes down chemically in your body. So it's all in how you look at it. I've gotten way better at, presenting the races in my head as like, I'm excited to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I've been training for. I'm excited. Like, this is the moment. While also knowing that like this moment does not define me. Like before, and I'm the same person before and after the gold medal. Like, and that took a while, and I still struggle with that sometimes. When you have a bad race, you think, man, really bad person now, which is not true. You're the same person. It's just one race. It's your performance. Like, you'll have other opportunities. And so that's something you have to work through, and just knowing that nothing's really going to change based on the outcome of this race is kind of keeps the nerves at ease.
Do you have 1 second, Kathy, we'll
Do you have like a favorite type of meet to go to, like a meet close to the home or state meet?
Did she say favorite type of meet?
Like a favorite type of meet, like maybe one close to home or
I mean,
collegiate?
honestly, the Paralympics. That was probably the best one. Nothing is ever, they talk about that a lot actually, is like nothing like meets not feeling as important or as big or as fun as the Paralympics. So yeah, the Paralympics was by far the coolest experience I've ever had, just simply based on, the people there watching, the hype, the getting interviewed. Like before Paris, honestly, I went to LA and got several interviews. I went to New York, had several interviews with huge companies. Just all the experience and like the excitement around the games just really builds it up. And so I think that's what helps it become some of the most exciting meets ever. And then just, all the things you get while you're there, all the cool things is really fun. So games, obviously my favorite. But beyond that, I just like to race. I like to get up, and it's just so fun for me. I love it. It's what I want to do. So just any opportunity I get to race is one that I love. And honestly, for me, just after practice is over, I'm like ready for the next one. I'm not gonna lie, constantly in the back of my brain is like, when am I gonna get in the water next? And I think that's something that is kind of different about me than my teammates, because a lot of times a lot of people are like, ooh, I want practice to be over, because they're in it for the racing and not necessarily practice. But just swimming in general brings me so much joy. So I think any meet is super fun for me, but games was by far the best. And any Paralympic meet or para meet, I get to see my friends that are from all over the country, so that's exciting. But college dual meets have their own exciting factor to them. And I've finished my college career, so looking back, I'm gonna definitely miss those college dual meets, because that's a lot more team-based meet than a para meet is. So it's just kind of different. Each meet brings their own excitement in a different way, and I have different teammates for each, and yeah.
And last question is, where are the next games going to be held, and what does qualifying look like for you?
Yeah, the next games are in LA. So that's really exciting. Home games. Not very many people get to have the chance to qualify for a home game. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope LA can bring on as many spectators as France can do. France put on a really good game, so we'll see what LA can do. But the qualification process, okay, it's kind of complicated, but I'll do my best I can. So we have 14 different classes, so a range of disabilities from, being paralyzed to being visually impaired to the intellectual disabilities. And so you can't do it just based on time. So basically we have, there's two different systems, but qualifying for games, what they did was at trials, they took the third time in the world for your classification. And what you went, they divided that by the third time in the world and then multiplied it by 100. And you want your number as low as possible. And so to fill the team, under 100% was put on the team first. And then there's something called discretion, which basically, like, if you're a really good athlete, but you're injured at trials or something happens at trials, then you can be put on the team based on discretion. And then they go to people who are under the 102% and they fill the team. Now, so you have to have more than just the percentage. You have to have the minimum qualifying standard first. So like, if you meet the minimum qualifying standard, great, you can be considered for the team. Then what you go at trials is divided by the third time in the world, and you want to be under 100%, or you just want to be as low as possible. And then they fill the team based on how many slots we are given. So in Paris, we were given 21 female slots, 12 male slots. And so that earning those spots comes with a whole another equation. But basically, the year before at Worlds, you have to earn, each country has to earn their spots for Paris. So we earn that many, and then you have to meet the minimum the cut time. And then at trials, you have to go a certain time, divided by the third time in the world to get your percentage. And then the lower percentages go on first. And basically, we just fill all the spots until it's full. That kind of makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
Give our speaker a round of applause. And Olivia, this is just a certificate of appreciation. It says, in recognition of your invaluable contributions to Mount St. Mary Academy, She's Speaking Women's History Month celebration, your willingness to share your story, wisdom, and experiences have inspired and empowered our students, faculty, and staff. Your presence and words have reinforced the importance of leadership, advocacy, and the power of sisterhood. With gratitude and appreciation, we honor you for your dedication and uplifting and educating the next generation of leaders.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Want a picture? Okay. All right. All right. There you go. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I think she's waiting on the bell to ring. So, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do it.